Toronto is home to the largest mass transit system in the country. This month, it's putting all electric buses into service for the first time.
Fewer breakdowns in service. We expect, based on our transit peer agencies that have experience with these buses over a course of a number of years, to have roughly 25% higher reliability. That should result in fewer breakdowns, number one, for our customers. Also, lower maintenance costs of about 25%. There are 30% fewer parts in the bus than a diesel bus, so that stands to reason. We expect that we know that the buses are quieter, so the experience for both the operator and for the customer will be a more pleasant one.
And for residents?
And for residents, for sure. So we've got a number of routes that run, particularly at night service, when the ambient noise is lower, and we've got diesel buses running in these communities.
Yeah.
And so the noise produced by the bus is about 60% less.
60%?
That's right.
Can you give us a rough idea of what the percentage reduction would be in fuel costs?
So the percentage reduction is about 70-80%.
Wow.
It should amount to, if the whole fleet were converted over to electric, anywhere between 60 and 80 million dollar net fuel savings per year.
That would be across a fleet of how many buses?
2,200 buses.
Pretty big fleet.
Yes.
Now, you're going right now with buses from New Flyer, now called NFI Group. You've got 2 on the road, but you are going to bring in some California-made buses and Chinese-made buses to evaluate those as well.
That's right. So as far as we know, we're undertaking the first head-to-head comparison of all 3 manufacturers of long-range electric buses. So we'll have 25 New Flyer buses, 25 Proterras, that's the California company, and 10 BYDs. The first 10 from each will be used in the head-to-head comparison. We're going to be trialing them through all 4 seasons, of course.
Yeah.
Also, we've got charging infrastructure located both indoors and outdoors, so we can evaluate the difference in charging system performance, both indoors, outdoors, and again, through all seasons.
And of course, one question in our winters, are not as severe as Winnipeg, for example, but there's a question of battery life in the low temperatures.
Yes, so battery life itself should not be a problem.
Oh.
The issue is battery capacity, so more specifically the range that you expect out of the bus. So we know from, again, our peer agencies that you can expect between 30 and 50% less range if you're using the battery to heat the bus.
Yes.
We've elected to buy these buses with diesel-fired heaters on board, so that's not perhaps ideal, certainly, but in order to make this a viable first step evaluation, we need those buses to be out there and in service.
Yes.
And not coming back because we've had to heat the bus. So in temperatures below 5 degrees Celsius, the diesel-fired heater will come on. That still will result in over 95% less emissions by the bus on the whole. The bus itself is still considered a zero emissions bus, however, because the FTA in the States, who defines what is a zero emissions bus and what is not, factors that the propulsion system, if it's all electric and zero emissions, then the entire bus is still considered zero emissions.
What about air conditioning when the heat gets brutal?
So the difference is that'll probably only take about 5% of the capacity of the battery. And so we'll have all of the air conditioning run off the battery, so it'll be zero emissions during the summer.
For the drivers, the operators, one advantage, less noise, less vibration, a healthier situation for them.
Yeah, that's right, definitely. So again, 60% less noise when it's en route. And so that'll be to the advantage of both the residents, the customers on board, and our operators. Yes.
And obviously healthier for people in a facility like this if there are fewer diesel fumes as well.
Right. So diesel emissions is a Group 1 carcinogen. So obviously the elimination of the diesel emissions from the propulsion system ultimately could have a significant improvement to air quality in the city of Toronto and perhaps even beyond that.
One pretty interesting thing is these buses could be used as an emergency power source in the event of a disaster.
Yes, that's right. So each one can be considered a power plant on their own. And you could use it, so in the case of a long-term power outage, we will have backup energy, backup generation on site so we can continue our operations. But it could be that for some portion of that fleet, the highest best use of the bus is actually to bring it to an emergency command center or a home for the aging or to City Hall, for example, to help them keep up and running.
Now you can, obviously the beauty is as well, you can take advantage of cheap night rate electricity to charge.
Yeah, that's right. So the first phase of deployment, in fact, probably the first several phases of deployment will include depot charge or garage charged buses. And so those buses will be charged overnight in the 8 hours between our major service periods. And in that time, we can charge 2 charging events. So each bus is about 4 hours of charge from fully depleted to fully charged. And so that allows us to keep or to take advantage of the low hydroelectricity rates and to keep that net fuel savings at a high.
One last thing, I'm amazed. A regular bus will cost, a diesel bus costs about $700,000. They don't come that cheap. Now, initially, these new electric buses are going to be 50 to 60% more.
That's right. So it's anywhere between. So the diesel bus is just under 700,000. The hybrid is about 850, 160,000. The electrics range between 900,000 and 1.3 million dollars.
For the battery technology.
That's right.
But the idea would be it comes down as manufacturers scale up.
Yeah, the costs of the buses have gone down already, about 40% over the last 5 years. If they continue to go down even close to that rate, then within 5 to 10 years, we'd have a solution here that's not only provide all the benefits we just described, but also would be the lowest cost solution.